Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Navellier, chairman and founder of Navellier Associates, to discuss China's slowdown and the opportunities and challenges it presents. Louis, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And why are we hearing rumblings that China is disengaging with the rest of the world?
Well, apparently President Xi fears for his life. He doesn't like to travel anymore, and he's become increasingly isolated. Obviously, his defense minister just mysteriously disappeared. We know he's eliminated all his opposition, which were largely economic reformers from his predecessor. But, as they've disengaged with the world, their imports collapsed, their exports collapsed. The only bright spot is apparently they're planning to export EVs all over the globe. And so that's up, and they're building double the battery capacity they need in China for domestic uses. So apparently they're planning to invade the world with cheap batteries. And that's the only bright spot I see in their industrial policy. But we don't know how many people they lost in COVID. All we know is if you're under 24, it's the highest unemployment since Tiananmen Square, and it's very uncomfortable. And obviously they don't want to release their economic data as freely as they used to.
Yeah. Could that cause global free trade to break down?
It already has. I mean, they've become a less reliable partner. And it's as simple as that. Their COVID restrictions really hurt them. And, so there's places like Germany that just don't understand why they can't deliver. And, the Germans are very precise. And when they order stuff, they want it. And they're also having a little dispute on labor at the Volkswagen plant and things like that. But we're disengaging from China. We're all looking for alternative sources. You saw that they had deflation. That's probably the only silver lining. Producer prices on goods are actually falling for a while because we're actually importing deflation from China.
So it sounds as if China's economic slowdown, we're already starting to feel the impact to the rest of the world.
Absolutely. But it's interesting. All the trade from Asia is down to America, but China's down more severely. And internally, it looks like they're desperately trying to cut prices just to maintain market share. But there's some problems.
Would that be a good thing for the consumer, especially when you think about the EV market? Part of picking up some demand there is to have these vehicles available at scale and to bring the prices down to make it affordable in order for us to meet our mandates here.
Oh, it already happened. It started in China and they're cutting costs here. So the big development on EVs is what they call an iron phosphate battery. And that battery doesn't use any nickel or cobalt. It doesn't catch on fire, and it can be 100% charged. And those batteries are ideal for city vehicles or cheaper EVs. So Tesla already has it with its base Model 3. Ford is going to iron phosphate with its Mach-E on some of the starter models. Volkswagen wants to do it again on the starter models. And it's also possible to mix the iron phosphate with some manganese and get a higher capacity. So that might be the future. But, the world is all upset about, the cobalt mining, and I've had 2 EVs. I don't know how many children died in the Congo so I can have EVs, and this is a growing concern. So,
yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like that the domestic and even European automakers are going to have to become miners themselves in order to keep up with the demand. I mean, there's just only so many natural resources that are available to meet these mandates. It's not just, these resources are created overnight. I mean, it takes millions of years for these minerals to be created.
Correct. And if you look at an open pit mine in the Congo, you would expect to see, big mechanized vehicles, and you just see hundreds of thousands of people dropping little kids in holes. And how many of them die from cave-ins? We don't know. So it's not a reliable source. And of course, then the iron phosphate batteries don't catch on fire. So that's another important development, because we've had some problems with ships transporting EVs that caught on fire, and then of course we've had deaths and lawsuits, things like that.
Well, it's interesting if you get China to create more of these batteries, or if they continue to source from unethical areas, if we produce it from American or European companies, I mean, that's going to ultimately impact the consumer. If you know it's going to be more expensive because you have to pay for labor.
That's correct. That's correct. But right now, I mean, cobalt is the main source is the Congo. I have a friend that's trying to get in the cobalt business. He's getting money from the Energy Administration, but he's not profitable yet. He's not at scale, and I don't know if he can ever compete with the cheap labor in the Congo. So it's compound complex. And do you want to pay a premium for an ethical mining source? And that's something that hasn't come up yet in the EV world.
All right, Louis, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.